Hello, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a really nice 3 days and you managed to get some rest as well as a bit of studying for your examinations that are coming up. I do apologise for that. My laptop, for some reason, is still blaring out the music that IT put on it for open evening. I'll work out what's going on with that. But I am recording this assembly, and so you should all be able to get this relevant information. Right, I'm just going to share my screen and then we will get going. Okay, so firstly, a really big thank you from me. Loads of you stayed for the open evening, and it was absolutely amazing. It was the busiest it's ever been. Um, it was vibrant, it was exciting, you were enthusiastic, and you just sold the sixth form so brilliantly. And thank you so much. It was an absolute privilege to see you all doing that and work with you in that way. So thank you so much. I'm really, really grateful to you. Now I'm just going to share a few notices about some safety things. Now, unfortunately, there's been a bit of an increase in a few behaviours that are not ideal, mostly from year 13. Now, year 12 are to some extent responsible for these, and I will be speaking to them as well. But this is primarily year 13. Now, the reason that these are important mostly are your safety. So, firstly, Miss in the gatehouse has fed back to us that lots of you are trying to leave school 10, 15 minutes early. Now, firstly, obviously, the school day goes until 3:15. It is important study time, and you shouldn't be starting to pack away 20 minutes early, which we know some of you do. But also in terms of safety, we are responsible for you until 3:15. You're allowed to go off site at lunchtime, but not 15 minutes early. And you're not allowed to leave before 3:15. We don't have the capacity to be signing you all out for an additional 15 minutes twice a day. And so that is a safety issue. Please stick to the designated times of the day. What I don't want to have to do is start banning you from going out for lunch because you're causing these problems. Every year I get told that I should stop you going out for lunch. And every year I fight against it because you're adults. And I think that's something you should have the responsibility to be able to do and manage. But at the moment, it's not going brilliantly. So please, can you think about that? I've been informed that for a lot of you, and I know this isn't all of you, but for a lot of you, you're quite rude to gatehouse staff and have been walking off, not providing names when asked. That's just not okay. And if that is you, please do not do that. It's unacceptable. And if I get names of people who are doing that, I am going to be contacting home because we're not rude people. Finham Park Sixth Form is a sixth form that lives by our core values. We value inclusiveness. We value kindness. We absolutely aren't rude. So please don't do that. It's really important you sign in at sixth form reception if you arrive after period one, after 9:15, because we have to know you're on site. If you arrive after 9:15 and there's no one on the late gate to sign you in, and then you won't get signed in by your mentor. And then if you've got study periods all morning, we won't know whether you're on site, and that's a big safety issue. So the system is you go to Mrs. Foster and you sign in if you arrive after 9:15. Please don't leave site without a pink slip. Again, we need to know whether you are on site. The only exception is going off for lunch. You're allowed to go on and off during lunch, so between 12:35 and 1:15 you can go off site without a pink slip, but any other time you need a pink slip. That's just our system to keep you safe. Now, some of you have been using the car gate as a means of exit, running, sticking your elbow through it to stop it shutting. A, that's dangerous, and B, it's not acceptable. Now, the gates are as they are. Legal requirements. Schools basically have to be fortresses because we can't have random people able to come on and off. And you and your families would be absolutely furious if we weren't keeping you safe. But you've got to do your bit. And again, that is not okay. If you have a legitimate reason to leave site, then get a pink slip and we will let you off site, making sure the appropriate procedures have been followed, parents or carers have been informed, whatever. If you just fancy leaving, don't do that. It causes a massive problem for us, for you, and as a huge safety issue. Right, I'm going to stop grumbling now, but please take that into account because it's causing us a massive problem. Right then, on a much more cheerful note, tonight's Period 6 talk is by a chap called Anthony Hopker, and it's about apprenticeships with National Grid. Most of you will know National Grid have literally just opened their apprenticeship and degree apprenticeship programmes. Now, I recommend you attend this talk if you're considering an apprenticeship, even if not with National Grid, because Anthony's going to talk through the application process and give application tips. Now, those tips will apply even if you're not planning to apply for National Grid. So it's really relevant to everybody considering an apprenticeship. So please do attend that talk if it's relevant for you. Events coming up Friday, the 12th of December. So that's not this Friday, that's the following Friday is Christmas jumper day. You will be expected to wear the dress code, but you can wear a Christmas jumper or a Christmas accessory with the dress code. Wednesday, the 17th of December is Culture Day. Further instructions are going to come out from the head student team soon. But basically, you're going to be invited to wear cultural clothing. There are some rules to make sure that everybody is respectful, and we will send those out in due course. Friday, the 19th of December, so this is 2 weeks on Friday, is the Christmas quiz and early finish. That's always a really lovely event that you do in your mentors. So the main part of this assembly is about UCAS and what's next. So our internal UCAS deadline has passed, and so what happens next? Right then, firstly, a few caveats. I'm aware that some of you haven't sent your application. That's absolutely fine. That's up to you. So the final deadline for UCAS is the 14th of January at 6 p.m. As long as you submit it to us before then we will send it. However, a few caveats. Firstly, I'm unlikely to be looking at UCAS at 5:59 on the 14th of January. So please make sure that you send it with a reasonable amount of time for me to click the buttons. You have to click about 10 different things to get the UCAS application sent. And if you send it to me at 5:59 p.m., we won't meet the deadline. And that UCAS deadline is an absolutely hard deadline. UCAS have no flexibility. A few things to remember: your applications won't be checked if they're being submitted now. Courses start to fill. You probably have heard your friends have been receiving offers. Courses will fill. The later you leave it, the more likely you are to miss out. And also, the website gets more and more unreliable. UCAS crashes constantly in January. If you submit your application on the 14th of January, there is a reasonable chance I won't be able to submit it to UCAS because the website will crash. And that will be on you, and you're just going to have to wait for another year. So I recommend that you work to get your application submitted as promptly as you can. Secondly, and I want to be 100% clear on this because there are loads of rumours going around about this, we will not be changing any predicted grades based on your mock exams. I am going to ask all teachers not to give you papers, marks, or grades until after the UCAS deadline has passed. You need to understand that changing your predicted grades at this point would be unfair because the large majority of the year group met the deadline. They won't have the opportunity to have their grades changed by the mock exams, and it would be really unfair for those of you who didn't meet the deadline to have that opportunity. I've heard a lot of talk about how I'm just saying this and how I'll soften and change my mind. I won't. And as I said, I'm going to ask all teachers not to give you papers, marks, or grades back until after the UCAS deadline, so you won't even know what your mock results were, so it's not a discussion. That's reasonable anyway, because the mock exams are right at the end of term, and teachers deserve at least 2 school weeks to mark them before they're given back. So asking teachers to mark them in time for the UCAS deadline would be really unreasonable on staff workload anyway. So this isn't particularly something that's being done because of UCAS, but I'm going to make sure that no one hurries papers through in order that we are absolutely fair. I know some of you are going to be outraged by this, and I'm sorry, but that's just what the rule is because fairness is completely important. Okay. Thirdly, and ask anyone who's submitted their UCAS application, it's like a weight lifts off them. They sit in my office, we click send, and you can literally see a weight lifting off their shoulders. It will be so much better for your mental health to get your application submitted. You will start getting offers in most cases. Some courses take a little bit longer, but generally you'll start getting offers really soon. You'll be able to focus on your mocks, and you can have a proper break over Christmas. By Christmas, your mocks will be completed. Your application will be completed. Yes, you're going to still need to do some studying. You're in year 13. You're not having 2 weeks off, but you can have a proper break, and every single one of you needs one. Year 13 is flagging, we can tell. So get it done. Right then. So I'm now talking to people who have submitted their application although actually all of you listen, because when you've submitted your application, this is what will happen next. So firstly, you may be asked to submit work or a portfolio. As I said to you in assembly a few weeks ago, the requests for portfolios come in very quickly. So please make sure that you have your portfolio ready. You should be aware of that because, as I said, I mentioned it in assembly a few weeks ago. But in case anyone's forgotten, a quick reminder. A few weeks ago as well, I mentioned that Ms. Madden very kindly had offered to share her daughter's portfolio, which was very successful in supporting her daughter to achieve a university place a few years ago. So if you have to submit a portfolio and you're not sure where to start, speak to Ms. Madden, and she's very kindly said that she will share that with you. Some of you may be invited to an interview or audition. That depends on what you have applied for. That's quite rare, but does happen. If you are invited to an interview or audition, make sure you read the details very carefully. Now, aside from people who are called for a portfolio or an interview or audition, there are three options. You might get a conditional offer from the university. Now, the conditional offer is likely to be dependent on grades, but in some cases can be dependent on other things. If it's a sports degree, they might want you to achieve something in a certain sporting competition. If it's a music degree, they might want you to get a certain music exam, but generally it'll be based on your A-level or BTEC outcomes. You might get an unconditional offer from the university. If you do, be careful. In the past, we've had some students be offered unconditional offers who've then stopped working and been like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, I'm going to university anyway. Remember, your A-level or BTEC results will go on every job application you ever make. I still have to put them on my job applications and I'm 36. It is still worth putting the effort in to get good A-level results. So be very careful of unconditional offers. Your application might be declined. That is unlikely if you have applied for universities that are within a suitable admissions criteria. If you've chanced it and applied for something that's way higher than your predicted grades, being declined is quite likely. So those are the three responses you could get. Now, what if you're declined from all of your universities? Again, that's incredibly rare, but if you are, you'll be put into something called UCAS Extra, and you'll be able to make an extra choice. You'll receive an email telling you you've been put into UCAS Extra, and the email will send you a link. You click on that link and you select another university. If this happens, pick something very realistic. Remember, by that stage, lots of courses will be full. You don't want to be chancing it. If you're rejected again, you receive another email, you pick one further choice, and this will keep going until you receive an offer. So if you get rejected by everything, not the end of the world. You will be able to keep picking more choices. Now, how do you accept an offer? When all of your universities have responded, you will receive an email telling you that you can accept your offers. Now, this can be quite frustrating. If you've heard from, say, 4 but not 5 universities or whatever, you're not allowed to start accepting until you've heard from all of them. If you accept an unconditional offer, you only make one acceptance because that's unconditional, so you will be going there. If you accept conditional offers, you accept 2, firm and insurance. The only exception to this is you can accept a conditional offer as your firm offer and an unconditional offer as your insurance offer. Again, you'll receive an email. You click on the link in that email and there'll be a form that you just fill in to make your acceptances. But remember, if you put an unconditional offer as your first choice, you will not be given the chance to pick a second offer. So think carefully before you do that. And I'll talk about changing your mind in a minute, but it's pretty hard. So it is best to think carefully before you make your selections. Right. Firm and insurance, what does that mean? Firm choice, this is your first choice. If it's an unconditional offer, the place is yours. The university is expecting you. If it's conditional, the place is yours if you meet the offer conditions. And so you have to pick a backup. Use your common sense, pick a backup with lower offer conditions, but make sure it's somewhere you're still happy to go. So your insurance choice is somewhere that's got a lower offer so that if you, on results day, don't quite get the results you're hoping for, you will still have somewhere to go. You only go to your insurance choice if you don't meet the conditions for your firm choice. What you can't do is you can't decide on the day that you don't want to attend your firm choice and be guaranteed your insurance choice. You might be able to go to your insurance choice, but they don't guarantee that. because it's like your second choice. They will be prioritizing people who've put them as the firm choice. You can't just make that choice. So please make sure you're happy with which is your firm and which is your insurance. Insurance choices are optional, but very, very, very highly recommended. In fact, I would say it would be really, really silly not to put an insurance choice. Remember, you can always decline your insurance choice if you want to go through clearing, but if you don't put one, you can't have one. I'm going to say that again because it's so important. You can only go to your insurance choice if you don't meet the conditions of your firm choice. Don't think of it as two options and you can choose either or. You need an order of priority. Firm choice is your first choice because if you meet the grades, that's where you're going unless you decline the whole thing. Right. Declining offers. Once you've made your firm or insurance choices, you then have to go through and decline the others. Again, they'll email you. You'll have the opportunity to do this. It's all very self-explanatory, but sometimes people forget to do this and then their application doesn't move on. So with your 5 choices, you'll select firm, firm offer, insurance offer, decline, decline, decline. And that's not finalized until you've declined all the other offers. And so the universities won't get the information that you've accepted firm and conditional until you've declined all the others. If you've decided you've changed your mind, at this point you can decline all of your offers and wait to choose more until clearing. So, deadline to reply. These deadlines are absolutely final. If you don't meet them, you're not going to university. So most of you will fall into the first category. Most of you will receive your last decision on or before the 31st of March. The deadline for you to reply is the 6th of May. Some of you will receive your last decision before the 13th of May, in which case your reply date is the 3rd of June. And it's very rare that you don't hear until the 15th of July. That's the UCAS cutoff, in which case you have to reply by the 22nd of July. You will see that as it gets later, your window to choose is really, really late. It's really short, sorry. I recommend you take a photo of this slide. You put those dates into your diary. You will receive emails, but if you miss them, it's an end of discussion. Now, if you want to reply before receiving all of your offers, so let's say the first 2 you get, you are 100% they're your firm and insurance, you're not going to change your mind. What you can do at this point is withdraw from the other 3, because that will then count as having all 3 options. To do that, you just go into your UCAS profile where your choices are. There's an option by each one to withdraw, and then you'll get the email through allowing you to pick firm and insurance. But again, only do that if you're absolutely sure. What if you change your mind? Now, if you've accepted offers in the last 14 days, they will let you make the change. You can't do it by clicking buttons. You have to phone them. And I know lots of you don't enjoy that, but you can do it for 14 days. Let me be clear at this point. You have to phone them. They won't speak to parents or carers unless if you have additional needs, that means you can't phone them. And I let them know that you'll be hearing from parents or carers, and that's fine. But otherwise, they won't speak to parents or carers. If you are 18, they won't even consider it. If it's been more than 14 days, they probably won't make the change. You can ring them and ask, but they usually don't. And after the 23rd of July, there are no swaps at all. If you want to change courses, you have to wait until results, decline your place and reapply through clearing. Again, UCAS are absolutely militant on this, so be careful. So that's all the information. I hope that was useful. I know this sort of information can feel really, really overwhelming, but I've recorded this assembly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it home with my newsletter this week to your parents and carers. So you can watch it again, go through it and just make sure you've got all the key information. Huge apologies to those of you who are not applying for university. I accept this assembly wasn't super relevant for you, but because over 80% of the year group are applying for university, I thought it was just worth mentioning it to all of you. Some of you who don't apply for university may decide to apply next year. So again, I thought it was relevant you all having heard this information. That's all from me now. You've got 1 minute to go. Have a lovely day and I'll see you soon.